how do you sell unattractive markets to investors? We have a big market, but it's not it's nothing that anyone has made. Oh, it's disruptive, truly disruptive. No one's made a lot of money in this market other than the big players in 50 years, when the big players came up. So you pitch it to an investor and they're like, oh, trades, not interested. Or plumbing electricians, building inspectors, not interested. How do you sort of spin that so that investors are interested in something that's lucrative but not on their radar?
So this could be a longer conversation tailored to your exact business.
Yeah.
I think that as you move down the food chain of kind of institutional professional investors, like I said, they tend to be short attention span. I'm generalizing, and they tend to see a lot of pitches, so they try to bullet point your story and jam it into something. And one of their most common things is by analogy, right? Which is, how do I tell the story that it's like a blank or it's like a blank and jam it in that category? So, and what we found is even on our late stage investments as they're going public, you're always trying to jam a business story into a traditional analogy. And so when we're pitching bankers on IPOs, you'll get 4 bankers that are like, we have a company called Trupanion. It is the fastest growing pet insurance company in the United States. And 4 of the bankers are like, this feels like an insurance company. And then somebody else says, no, it feels like a SaaS business because actually it's got recurring revenue, and they're wildly different models and different kind of businesses. You're always facing that. So I think the first thing you do is you start off with, if I were going to do this by analogy, what are different stories that could be told by analogy? And accept that's how people are going to think about it. And then you want to tell the story that kind of caters into the right direction that you want to push them a little bit. I think that professional investors are generally in the business to make money more than invest in sexy markets. And so I don't think the fact that you're in an unsexy market is bad at all. In fact, there are lots of investors who are like, I take great pride in investing in unsexy markets because that's where the real money's made. So there's nothing wrong with that. You might even embrace that. I think that, in general, as a venture capitalist, you want to be contrarian and you want to be right? And so an undiscovered, unsexy market, and the reason it's undiscovered is because it's unsexy is actually a good thing. The real question is this thing going to make money? And so if you can tell the story of, this is a sufficiently large enough market, and let me tell you why, and that's when you have to probably be careful that you're not railroaded into a past failed small market, and instead you can tell a story that, no, this is actually more like this other big market, okay? It's a big enough thing to qualify. I think people care more that it's big enough, kind of eye on the prize, especially professional venture capitalists are looking for, a bet on green bet. They're not looking for a return on capital bet. So they would rather see something that's got an 80% chance of failure, but if it goes, it's going to go. And so telling a story to this is exact opposite for those, the syndicate guys. But if you're talking to venture capitalists, they want a vision of, this is going to be a multi-billion-dollar business. This is going to be an IPO. Let me tell you why. And IPO is just the beginning. Our best CEOs that have gone public think that's just the beginning, and they want that kind of mentality, which is failure is not an option. I'm the next Jeff Bezos and I'm going to take over the world. They kind of want to see that kind of DNA and tell me a story of why I can believe that. Why does that make sense? Is this really going to be one in every household, or is this something that everybody's going to use? And once you use it, you'll never be able to imagine life without it. Telling that story is important. And I wouldn't get caught up in the unsexiness.